an email from me that have a link to a session resource page. My recording of the session will be on there. So please share it with other people. If you have a coworker who would benefit from seeing this, please let them know and pass that on to them. And finally, we're all in this together. We're all educators. Right now, 81 strong in this session. And we're all here with a common goal of serving our kiddos. All right, so looking at some of our skills that hopefully we've all been able to accomplish so far, and that's creating a class. In our email from Liza, we had a walkthrough video of how to create a class. So I hope that we're all able to do that. I will do a very brief overview of how to create a class as we're moving along. Just a quick note, our session will move pretty quickly. We have a lot to cover. But again, please remember that we have the slides with resources and videos in there. And then we also will have the recording you can go back to. So this is kind of me owning up front that we will have a quick pace, but you will be supplied with tons of resources to move forward. The first one of those that I want to highlight though is here on slide 5 on the right-hand side where it says, welcome to your first day of classroom. Let's go ahead and click there. Or again, you can just follow along with my screen. That's fine too. I am recording at this point. Now in here, this is a collection of resources from Google that they put out back in the spring, late spring. And if you are brand new to Classroom or you have coworkers who are brand new to Classroom, I would start them off here. So with this, it has step-by-step videos, an overview of what is Google Classroom, how do we access, and all of that is built in here. And they're all less than a minute. Most are less than 30 seconds, and you can quickly watch these different videos. Something else that's really cool about this is in the bottom right-hand corner of our video, if you click the 3 dots, there's an option to do picture-in-picture, and check out what this lets us do. So now I can go to another page, pretend this is my Google Classroom, and I can play my video as I'm actually doing the task that's
Google Classroom is
showing me that skill. So it makes it very easy to perform the skill, build up our repertoire when it comes to Google Classroom, but also have that video support that I can rewind, replay, do whatever I need to. Some other things that we have in here, and these are tips and tricks that come from other teachers, how to copy a course. We will go into that today. How to create a quiz. We'll spend a little bit of time looking at what that looks like. We won't actually build a quiz in our time together today, but we do have a video here that you can look at, and then additional information about how you can leverage these tools in your classroom. So if you want, I would encourage you to leave this tab open. It will be really helpful. Please also note at the top of this web page we're looking at, it says product guides, and they have similar pages for a lot of the other core tools. All of Google Drive is in here, Google Meet, which is really popular, Sites, Jamboard, Expeditions, a lot of those different tools are covered on this resource. All right, so I'm bouncing back to our slides, and we're going to transition at this point to Google Classroom. There are a couple different ways that you can get there. One is if we open up a new tab and type in classroom.google.com, that will take us there. Or if you're on any of Google's different tools, so if you're in Drive or something like that, you can click the 3x3 grid. I like to call it a waffle menu, and find Classroom here as well. So regardless of how you get there, we're going to take about 30 seconds to get to Google Classroom, and then we'll come back together. All right, if you've never been to Classroom before, and that was part of the prereq that we take a couple minutes to get a class set up, but if you've never been there before, you'll probably see a prompt that says, what role are you? And it'll give you the choice of being a student or a teacher. Please select that you are a teacher. That will allow you to make classes. Once we've done that, if you already have a class that you set up, you're good to go for right now. On this page, kind of the home page of Classroom, every class that you're a member of, whether you're a student or a teacher, is going to have a card in here. Now on the card, it'll have the name of the course. If you have a section, so if it's like third period, that will be listed right beneath there, and then how many students we have currently. So here is a Google Educator cohort that I'm working with, and I have 42 people enrolled. It also tells us any upcoming assignments. So all of that information is automatically updated for you once you create your class. If you haven't yet made a class, we're going to click this plus sign in the top right corner. And that gives us two different choices. We can either join a class, and we'll show you in a little bit how we would get our students to join a class, or we would create a class. When I click this, when I click create class, I get the choice of I have to give it a class name. So this will be live demo, let's see, 727. Section, again, is going to be like the class period. So this will be 2B. Subject, I can put in whatever it might be. If you are an elementary teacher, some people will make a different class for each subject that they do. Other people will use the topics to be able to delineate what content's being taught. And we'll look at both of those strategies in just a little bit. Once you have these fields filled in the way that you want, you can go ahead and hit create. If you've already created one, like the email before asked you to do, you can just go ahead and enter in at this point. All right, so now I'm in my brand new class, and we'll run through what we see here. Whenever I do a live demo, I always try to start with the top left corner and just kind of work my way across. To me, this is a way that I can make sure that I cover everything that's included, and that just helps me to think through it. All right, so up here in the top left, the very first thing that we see are those three stacked lines. I've heard that referred to as a hamburger menu or pancake menu, whichever term you want to use. That's where we're going to click right now. And when we do that, it brings up, here are all of the classes that you're a member of. So I can click this home button, and that's going to take me back to the home page we started on. We have a calendar, and this would have any upcoming dates or assignments that you have created. Then we have all of our teaching courses. And if you are also a member of some classes as a student, it would be listed in here separately from the teaching, so that it's very easy to know, well, this is for my PLC, or this is for my grade level team, or my principal does professional development this way, and it would make it very clear to you. Then we have archive classes, and finally settings. The settings in here, we're not going to spend a lot of time, but one quick note: once you start your class and you're working with your kiddos, you probably will want to adjust when you get notifications. If you take a look, this is how I have mine set up right now. I only have it turned on when I get late submission of student work. And I do this because I may not remember to go back and look at something that was due 3 weeks ago or 6 weeks ago or even 2 days ago. And so I want to get prompted to be able to go back and review that student's submission. Or if they're doing a resubmission, I want to be cued to go back and make sure that Miles, who made the changes that I suggested and looked at the feedback that I gave him, that I'm able to then go and reconsider his current standing. So again, just a simple, easy setting that I like to do. So at this point, I'm going to head back, click my 3 lines again, that hamburger menu, and I'm going to go back to the class that I'm working on. So live demo 727. All right, so as we move into these different tabs, the very first one, the one that your kids will be taken to by default, is called the stream. And with the stream, this is similar to a social media feed. So if you are a Facebook user or a Twitter user or Instagram, whatever it is, we're used to people being able to post and then it all comes to the common location. And that's exactly what happens here. So in the stream, I can leave a message to my students, and it might be, I can't wait to work and learn with you this year. And I might do just a very simple welcome message at the beginning of the year. And when I'm ready, I can hit post, and my kids will see this the next time that they go to the stream. Very, very easy. The other things that we see when we're on the stream we get the class code, and we'll talk about why that's important in just a few moments. You may see Meet Link, a prompt for that, and we'll talk through how you might be able to leverage that later on in our session as well. And then you'll definitely see upcoming. Now, for this class that you just created, there's nothing coming up because we haven't made any assignments yet. If I switch to one of my other courses, so if I go to this one, we have something coming up. So tomorrow is the YouTube mini lesson that group of educators needs to complete. Again, that would show for your students and for you. So it's a very easy, simple reminder for everybody in the class. All right, so then this is the main part. This is our feed in the stream. Anything that you post, whether it's an assignment, just an announcement, if you put out your syllabus, all of that would come to the stream automatically. All right, so we're going to continue across the top, and the next tab that we're going to go to is classwork. Now, as a teacher, this is probably where you're going to spend a lot of your time. So in here, this is where we can start to build a structure and be able to make resources for our kiddos. So the very first thing that our mind or our eyes are probably drawn to is this create button. And it's going to be a different color based on what the class theme is for you. Mine is like a brownish color right now, but yours might be blue or orange. We'll see how to change that later. I'm going to click create. And in here, I get 6 different choices. And the one I want to start with is the very last one on here, and that's topic. And I like to start with topic because if we are transitioning from, I know a lot of teachers have a filing cabinet that might have a folder for each unit, or if you're an elementary teacher, my wife's an elementary teacher, you might have a different folder for each subject that you teach. Think of topics as those folders, okay? So in here, I'm gonna make one for our first week of school is September 8th through, I don't know, like the 12th, maybe the 11th. And I'm going to make one for this. Now, you could also do it by what content you're doing during that time. So it might be, we're reading The Raven, I don't know. And you could do it that way too. So it's really up to you. Once you have that initial topic listed, we're going to click add. And we have a folder now, right? There's just nothing in it. So our next step would be, well, we need to start putting content into these folders. Now you'll notice on the left, it says all topics, and the Raven is the only one we have. Later on, once we have 5 or 6 different topics, our kids can filter to make sure that they find our vocabulary resources or are adding fractions or whatever it might be. All right, so in here, we're gonna go back to where it says create, and we're gonna look at the different types of things that we can create. Now, for most of us, the one that we'll use the majority of the time will be assignment. Let's go ahead and click on assignment. And once we do that, you'll notice that we're prompted to give a title, and we will have to give a title. A lot of the other things in here are optional, but this is not. So I'm gonna name this Choice Board, Sept 8 through 11. I'm going to skip over the instructions for right now. We will come back to it in just a little bit, but for now, I'm not ready to fill that in. And the next thing I'm going to do is go to where it says add. Looks like a paper clip and then add. And when I do this, it shows me the types of resources that I can add to my assignment. And we're going to run through each of these. So our first one is Google Drive. And this was my favorite feature when I first was introduced to Classroom 6 years ago. So in here, if I need to make a copy of a resource for my kids, like the skill checklist, I can click on that. I'm also going to go through and find these slides. And let's see, that's it for now. So I'm going to insert 2 resources right now. And when I do that, you'll notice that the very first thing I see is here's a thumbnail image of it. So it allows me to kind of self-check, yeah, that's the one I expected them to use, or no, I need to go back and put a different file in. I need to put the right thing in. Then it gives us the name. It tells us what type of document is it. So is it a doc? Is it slides? Is it a sheets? Whatever it might be. And then as we keep moving over to the right, we get a drop-down list. So with our drop-down, we have 3 different choices in here of how we want our students to access the file. The first one is students can just view file. And this is helpful if we're doing like, here's my syllabus and people need to be able to see it, or maybe here's a reading assignment and our kids aren't interacting with the poem or the short story in any way, at least not on the document itself. They might reflect somewhere else. The next option is students can edit file. And that would allow all of your participants, all 25 of your kids, to be editing on the same file at the same time. I don't use that one a whole lot. I might use it every couple of weeks, but you would want to definitely scaffold to get to the point where our kids know how to do that respectfully and responsibly. So I would definitely preface it with a conversation. The final one in here is my favorite feature, and that's make a copy for each student. That's the one I want for this file. So this is going to take that resource skills checklist and make a template for each of my kiddos so that they can do their work. I can immediately go in and give feedback, but a classmate can't see or access that file unless it's shared with them. All right, so down here I have a slides presentation, and with this one I want it to be students can edit file. And just a heads up, this particular set of Google Slides, I had people sign up for what group they wanted to present with, and so I needed everybody to go in and edit in the same place. I also wanted to bring to your attention that these 2 files do not need to have the same setting. So we can kind of curate the experience for our kids and allow it to match our intended outcome as well. Also an ad, if we click here, we can just drop in a link. So if there's a certain Newsela article that you want them to go to, we can do that. So I'm just going to type in newsela.com, add it in. When I go back to add, I can do a file. This would be uploading a file from my computer. I also have the option of YouTube. So in here, if I needed to find a resource about adding fractions, I can do my search. And I love that it tells you how long the video is. If you see down here, this one's 4 minutes, this one's 9 minutes. My wife teaches 3rd grade. She probably wouldn't want to put in a 9-minute video to keep their attention, or a 24-minute video, good golly. But we might start with this 3-minute video. So when I do that, I'm going to click add. And there's one step that I still need to take, and that's previewing my video. So I can just click on the thumbnail and it brings my video up and I can watch it. I want to make sure I watch the entire thing to make sure that it is appropriate, both for the outcomes that I'm looking for and the content that's in there, to make sure it's something I want my kiddos to see. After we've reviewed and we know that, yeah, that's the one, I'm good to come back here and keep adding and putting together this assignment. So once I have my pieces of content in here, I'm ready to start going in and building out my instructions to them. And I like to think of this as a table of contents. So the very first thing, I might put a 1, and this would be complete the self-check, contact me with questions. 2 would be sign up for your presentation team, and so forth. Now, something else that I might want to think about, especially when we're looking through the lens of accessibility, or if you're working with younger kiddos, if you could use a tool like Screencastify to record your directions instead of doing it this way, and then you can add that file in here as the very first resource that the kids see. That would allow them to hear you talk through how you want them to engage with the resources. And you could also show your screen and show these different resources, especially if we're moving more towards the distance learning for the start of the school year. Parents would be able to really assist their students with, without having ambiguity about what, how they're supposed to be engaging with it. All right, so we have this left-hand part, the main part of the page figured out. Now we're going to bounce over to the right-hand side. So in here, the first thing that we see is who's it for. And I can select more than one class at the same time. So if I want to post it to this other course, I can. Or if I only have one course selected, it will give me the option of assigning it to specific students. So I'm going to bounce back to this, this other course, and I'm going to show you what that part looks like real quick. So in here, it's for this one class. I can come to students, and by default, it will say all students, but I can uncheck the box and go through and post to just a few people. So maybe these 3 students are in a group, or maybe they have similar accommodations, and I can really customize a resource for that learner's needs or the group's topic, whichever it might be. So I've worked with teachers who have done that based on if there are 504 or IEP accommodations that are required, or EL students who we can help support. I've had people who will customize it based on their students' interest and be able to push materials that Brian might care about just to that one particular student. All right, so we're back in here. We've seen how to customize who receives these updates. Then I can go in and start saying how many points it's worth. You can put in any whole number, so I can say it's worth 83 points if I want to, or 100 points, whatever it might be. And we also have the option, if you click that downward arrow, to do ungraded. And that will still prompt your students to turn something in. It just won't require you to give a numerical grade. Down here, due date, completely up to you. You can say it's due the 30th, and then it will prompt you to give a time as well. So by default, it'll be 11:59. You can use that. And then we can select what topic it goes with. So I'm going to say it's the Raven. We're not going to get into how to do the rubric or plagiarism. I do have videos in our presentation that you can go back to that will walk you through how to use both of those though. All right, so now I have my title, my instructions, all of my content, and I've adjusted these settings on the right-hand side to meet my needs. And now I'm ready to post. Please note that as you're putting together this assignment, it is saving automatically for you. So if something happens to your computer, that draft is there and you can always go back to it. Prominently, we see that it says assign, but just to the right of that, I get a few different choices about how I want to post this. Again, by default, assign. I can schedule it. So if my class meets at 9 o'clock on Monday, I can make it go live at 8:45 on Monday so that they have that material when they come into class. If we're doing more distance learning, I worked with a lot of teachers who would schedule it to go live Sunday morning so that the parents and children would be able to review together leading into the week, and on Monday could email with any questions that they might have. I can save draft, or if I need to get rid of it, I can. I'm going to do assign, and in the background, it's making those copies, distributing to the students, and doing its magic. In just a second, here we see the Raven, Choice Board, September 8th through 11th, in my contents in there. Now I'm going to bounce to another class real quick and show you how we can easily move things around. So if you're looking at my screen, I'm in classwork. This course has 2 different topics and a bunch of different assignments in it. And so with this, if I'm within a topic, I can drag and drop things. So if I need to reorder, I can. And I can also do the same thing to reorder my topic. So if cell membranes is our current topic and we're no longer in May 11th through 15th, I can make our current at the very top and then have them going in a reverse chronological order, moving down. So it's very easy. I can also move things in and out of different topics. So if what have you learned is our exit ticket, I can just simply slide it into the topic of my choice and be good to go. All right.
Dad, someone here.
Someone's here, Carter? Oh my goodness.
I see. I'm here again, though.
Okay, I'll head down in just a little bit.
Why don't you see it?
All right, love you, buddy. All right, our first appearance of Carter. Cheers. Okay, so At this point, I'm going to click create again, and we're going to just quickly talk through what are these other types of materials that we can post. So when we do create, we can do a quiz assignment. Let me show you what that looks like on the back end, how we can use this. So here is a quiz that I posted before. I can see that it's been assigned to 11. All right, it's been assigned to 14. 3 haven't done it yet. 11 have, and then it's already graded. When I click here, it's going to open up the form for me. And if I'm in the teacher view, the editor view, I can see the self-graded aspect of the quiz. And I love this. It's going to save you a lot of time when you start using Google Forms quizzes. So in here, it gives me statistical information. I get the average, median, range. I can see that my students didn't do great on this assignment, so I might need to go back and reteach. Then I get frequently missed questions. So this really allows me to target, here are the areas that we need to focus on the most. Only 4 out of 47 people got this question right, so I'm gonna need to go back and reteach it. Continuing down, has all of their scores in here. If I want them to get an email with their score, I can hit release scores and they'll receive it. And then, yeah, bud. Oh, we got a book. Awesome. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
You're a good librarian. All right. Miss Jane brought it?
Yeah.
Okay.
For you.
So down in here, we get item by item analysis. All of these are graphs that are updated automatically as soon as someone else hits submit. And I get all of that awesome information. And it saves me the time because I don't have to go through and grade it myself. Yeah, bud. Okay, I'll be down in a little bit. Do you want to stay in here and look at a book? Yeah. I have the option of doing a question, and I can't come down right now. Can you go grab a book? Okay. We also can do questions, and this can be done a few different ways. So when we do question, we can do short answer or multiple choice. I'm going to do a multiple choice right now. So this will be, when should our next class meeting take place? And I can give them 2 choices. So it can be Tuesday or Wednesday. And our students can respond, and I can schedule when that meeting takes place based on when they're available and their feedback. So I'm going to go ahead and ask. When we go back to create, we also can do material. This is something that you don't expect a response from. So again, a syllabus would be good, or here is our letter to our parents at the beginning of the year, how we're going to be using the different tools to help facilitate our class, things like that. Finally, we have reuse posts. So anything that you've created in a previous class or in a concurrent class, you can bring that in as well. All right, so we're gonna bounce out of classwork. I know that was really the lion's share of our time, but it is gonna be the feature that you use again and again. So our next one is people. Let's go ahead and click where it says people. And when I go there, you'll see that we have quite a few choices in here. So the very first thing that we have, it says that you are the teacher, right? And if you have a co-teacher, so in the one I'm showing right now, Eric, one of our moderators, is a co-teacher with me. I can add them by clicking this plus sign, and then they'll have complete access to my class as well. Down below, we can start to add our students. Now, there are 2 different ways that we can do this. And it really might depend on if you're meeting in person that first time or if you're doing everything remote, how I might encourage you to move forward. So the first way that we can do it is by clicking again. Yeah, buddy.
Can I get a snack for me?
I already got you a snack. I'll come get you. I'll get you a snack in about half an hour, okay?
Okay, I'm hungry again too.
Okay, you've been really hungry today. All right, so I can click where it says invite students, and I can type in their names directly in here. So if I want to add my friend Jean, I can. and invite. And I can go through and add everybody separately, or, and this is the easier way, you might have remembered when we were in the stream that it said class code. So when I do class code, and this would be really helpful if you're meeting in person, all of your students can go to Google Classroom where it says the plus sign, join class, and then enter in this class code, and that would add them to your course. Or you can put that in an email or a newsletter to the parents and families so that when they're at home, they can join your class that way too. So a few different ways that we can get them into your class and how we can support them as they do that. Now, once you have people in your class, a lot of districts allow you to be able to do guardians in there too. So if I wanted to add a guardian in here, I can click the 3 dots next to Carter's name and invite guardian. And in here, I can start typing their name. So it can be a disciple at k12albemarle.org. And I can find from the class list or parent contact information and start inviting them. I'm going to show you why I love having the guardian part, so how great it is. So once I have a guardian in there, I can email all the guardians with one click. So, I might have 40 different people who are listed in here who support my learners, and that's going to make that group, and I can just click one button and it'll email everybody. Or if I only need to email Carter's parents, I can come to the 3 dots and email guardian, and it will shoot that email to both of Carter's parents. Now to set up the guardian summaries, and we'll look at an example of that in just a second, we're going to click this gear in the top right-hand corner of your classroom page. And when we do that, we get a lot of different settings, including when we initially created our class, we can go in and change that info. Then we get into general, and here we can change or stop our class code. So if we no longer are using it, we can disable it, or I can display and make it, I can embiggen it really large right here. But then we get things like guardian summaries. I can turn that on. Some districts might have that turned off for a reason, but I'm a big fan. But we can click where it says see example. And in here, it tells you that it's going to send a weekly automatically generated report to guardians where they can see how their students are doing. And here's our example. Felix's parents, here's missing work from last week, so they can follow up with Felix and make sure he's on the right path or can quickly get to the right path. Here are things that are coming up in the next week that will be due. And then for each class, here are all the upcoming assignments, or here are some recent things that were posted within the class. Again, as a teacher, after you've invited the parent and they've connected their email address to the student, you don't have to do anything. All of this is automated and done by the parent. All right, so we're back into the class settings, and we'll look at this a few other times as we move forward. Our next step will be, now that we've seen how to add a co-teacher, how to add our students, how to link the guardians, we're ready to move into grades. So I'm going to head back to, sorry, I'm juggling a few different Google accounts right now. I'm going to move into this course, and I'm going to bounce over to where it says grades. And in here, we can see my class roster, and that a few people have turned things in so far, but a lot hasn't been turned in, and that's perfectly fine. I'm going to click on the assignment for updated level 1 checklist. And when we go there, all 42 of my students, I can see their assignments. So I can go and find Regina. I can see that Dana has already submitted it. So I'm going to click on Dana, and she's given me a private message that she knows how to do a lot of this, which is great. Dana is pretty skilled here. And when I'm ready, I can click on her assignment, and in here, begin to give her feedback. So it's opening this tool up, and I'm not a classroom teacher at this time. I can highlight this response, put in a comment, and do how might a classroom teacher use these skills in their classroom? Question mark. And I can start to give my student feedback even before they hit submit. Anytime after that assignment has been created, I can come in and do a comment. Now, some other things that I can do up here at the top, if I want to move on to the next student, I can use these navigation arrows to be able to find all of my different students in here and just go give feedback each step along the way. I can click this drop-down arrow, and in here I can sort by status or by last name. So Dana and Regina are the only two who have completed it, and I might start by giving them feedback. Kimberly has the question of, is this due at the end of our class? I can give that private comment, no other student sees it. I will not be collecting. It's for your own reference. Okay, and I can post that. At any point, I can give a grade. I can start to build out a comment bank for if I'm consistently giving the same feedback to people. And after I've gone through and given the feedback to everybody who I need to, I can click either return and it will go just to a few or to that individual student, Dana, or I can come over here to the drop down and return multiple submissions and it will go to everybody. Makes it very easy to do all of my feedback, all of my scoring in one place instead of having to go into Drive or go through my email and find specific things that people have submitted. Okay, so when I bounce back to our grade book, then in here, we can see all of our different scores at the top. We can see how much it's out of. The very first line has our class average, and I can start either clicking on John's assignments and going through and seeing them, or if I've already graded maybe on a piece of paper, I can come in and just start typing his score. So he got an 88 on that assignment. This other John got a 74 on it. And once I've given all the feedback to my kids, I'm going to return those scores, and now it's going to factor into their average, and they'll receive the feedback that I just gave them. A couple other things that I can do. I'm going to go back to my settings gear in the top right corner, and we're going to see how else we can adjust our grades to help our students out. So you'll see in here that I have right now, my grade calculation is weighted by category, but I can make it where there's no overall grade. They just see the numerical feedback for individual assignments. I can do it where it's based on total points, where everything's weighted equally, or I can say that unit 1, unit 2, unit 3, or homework and unit or projects, whatever it might be, are all weighted differently. I also have the option of toggling, do I show the overall grade to my students? I know for a lot of districts, we're required to update PowerSchool or a similar program with our grades. So we may not want to confuse our students by having a second place for their grades to post. So, you know, some people may choose not to show the grades whatsoever, and that makes sense to me. We can add grade categories. We can adjust the percentage in here. So maybe I want this one to now be worth 35, and this one is worth 25. When I'm done, I do want to make sure that I've saved my changes. And now my grades will reflect any alteration that I did. All right, so at this point, I'm going to head back to my slides. I've almost forgotten that we had slides because the walkthrough really, to me, is the powerful piece with this. And we're going to just do a quick check to make sure that we're covering everything that we need to. So we've seen how to add students, and we have a video in there to refresh you. We've looked at topics and what the different types of posts are. We've seen how to customize our assignments to multiple classes or to individual students or small groups. We've looked at how to do feedback and that we can do it in real time, right? I don't need to wait until a student submits a physical piece of paper. As soon as I hit submit, or as soon as I make that copy for my kids, I can go in and start customizing how I want to guide individual students. We've looked at how to do the grade book, and again, we have a video in there. We've looked at a few of these quizzes, themes. Okay, so I'm going to keep rolling. The next piece that we're going to look at, and to me, this is a really cool feature that was added back in the spring, and that's how do we use Google Meet. So within my course, we can now, Google Meet, if you've never used the tool before, is a video conferencing tool. And it's been around for a little bit, but now it is directly built into Google Classroom to make it very secure to have distance meetings with our kiddos. So if I wanted to get this set up, I'm going to start by clicking on the gear again, and down towards the middle, right beneath the Guardian summaries and above grading, we have Google Meet. And the first thing is, do I want to, it gives us a link, and then it says, do you want to make that link visible to our students? When I toggle yes and hit save, it's going to show up for them in two different places, and it'll show up for you in those same places. The first is on this image here. I have my class code, and directly beneath there, my students can now see the Meet link. The other place is in classwork. And so up at the top, we have 3 different Google tools that are built directly into Classroom: Meet, Calendar, and Google Drive. So they could click Meet here and it will launch it. So when that class meeting time comes, as a teacher and student, they just click that link. It's going to ask them to join. And then everybody would be able to access. Now, the really cool thing is how secure this is. If you're not a member of the school's domain, you can't get in. And it really is that lockdown, and has been pretty amazing. Now, the other, just kind of keep things safe for our kiddos, step that I would take, after you've had the meeting with your students, again, maybe we're meeting Tuesday at 10, you could go back to our settings gear, and we'll go back to where it says Meet. And when I click the downward arrow now, I'm going to reset my link. So the previous URL will no longer work. And I'm going to turn it off so that my students can't even see it. So the old link is no longer active, and the new link they can't see yet. So I'm protecting my kids so that they don't enter into a situation that I can't control. When I hit save, you'll notice that that link for Meet is no longer on classwork, and it's no longer visible. I know that because the eye has a line through it, not visible to students. What I would do 5 minutes before my next session, or 15 minutes before, I might put, here is our Meet link, see you soon. And then I would go in and allow people to enter and maybe have some non-academic chat time before we roll into the instruction for the day. Again, that keeps our kiddos safe and allows them to get a lot of content that we need to get out to them. All right, so I'm heading back to our slides. If you want to learn more about Meet, the date is wrong here on the right-hand side, but on Wednesday morning at 9, we do have a session called Creating Community from Home with Google Meet and Flipgrid that you can drop into and get a real hands-on experience. We've also talked about discussion posts, so that would be the question option when we are creating in the classwork page. So with this, we saw how to do the multiple choice, but you can also do really like a discussion board where our kids, you put a prompt up and then they respond to it, and they could, if you chose to, be able to respond to each other as well. That makes it like a protected social media type experience, and you could really talk through how do we want to best do this in a safe way, respectful way. I know a lot of schools might have like a PBIS, very specific behavior guidelines, and this might be a new place to talk about what does appropriate behavior look like. All right, so the last couple things we're going to talk through before we get into a Q&A, going mobile. So both Android and iOS have really good mobile apps for Classroom. Some things that you might like if you're using these. You can draw feedback to your students. So if you have a submission that they've done, you can use your finger and highlight different things on there. The other part that you can do, if a student submits work to you, you can use your phone's camera to record feedback to them. So you can leave a video, you can take a picture of something that says great job, whatever it might be able to post that directly to the student. If you're using a Chromebook that has Android apps built in, you could also install the Classroom app there and get a lot of the same features. All right, so we're gonna, I know we're moving into the beginning of the year, but it is also important to know what we do at the end of the year, how best to keep a lot of the content that we're gonna be using with our students the following year. So in here, if I am needing to reuse this class, the first step that I'm going to do is click the 3 dots in the top right-hand corner of one of my cards. When I do that, it gives me the option to move it, edit, copy, or archive. And for this, we're going to select copy. And I'm going to give it a new name. So this will be July 27, Google Level 1. And I can, alter any of the other fields too. I'm ready to hit copy. And so this is taking all of the posts, all of the assignments, any of those items, and moving them as a draft to this course. So here's one that I did last week when I was doing this session. So I can show you what that eventually will look like. When I make a copy and then go to the classwork tab, all of those previous assignments, all of those previous quizzes, whatever it might be, become a draft in this copied course. So I can go in, and when I'm ready to launch Data for Challenge and use that material with my new class, I would just click the 3 dots, go to Edit, and then Assign. And that new group of students will be able to start accessing the materials, and I don't have to go back and make any changes if it's all current and ready to go. So it makes it very, very easy to build a structure in year 1, and then year 2, 3, 4, 5, just be able to go back and refine. And at least in the district where I work, we're moving from having year-long classes for our secondary students to having semester-long. So I could make my course in the fall semester, and then in the spring semester have a copy and be able to have a pretty good head start. The other step that we would take at the end of the school year is we'd want to clean up what is viewable here. So if I'm ready to remove one of these, again, I'm clicking my 3 dots and I'm going to choose archive. And this notice is really helpful. It's not going to remove any file from your Google Drive. It's not going to remove files from the students' Google Drive, so they can always go back and look at the videos that you've posted, the slides that you've created for them, but they just won't have it clutter up the home page of Classroom. So I hit archive, and now those will be hidden from my view. I can still go back and reuse posts from that, but it just day to day, I don't have to interact with it much. Again, we have a video in here about how to copy a course, so you can always go back to that. As we started off, I took you to the Teacher Center at the very beginning and said we have step-by-step videos for a lot of these skills. You can always go back to that. You will also have the recording of this session, and our slides have videos embedded throughout that you can always go back to. I do want to thank you at this point for joining today. And again, I acknowledge it was a quick session. A lot of things were covered. You can connect with me by going to my website, bit.ly/Adam Seipel. You will get an email later today that will take you there. We also have my social media handle that you can follow me there. I want to thank John and Eric for moderating today. It looks like there are quite a few questions, and I'm completely confident that any that popped up, you guys were able to handle. They've been awesome. I also want to thank Pam and Liza from Vascal for putting this on, offering it to Virginia educators for free. We've worked with thousands of teachers over the last few months, and it's been completely free for our educators. So thank you both. And finally, we would love to get some feedback from you. So if you can, please go to bit.ly/3E76XNX. One of the moderators probably has already put this into the chat. And on that page, we have some questions for you to just let us know how we did today. This is also where you're going to go if you need a renewal certificate. The very last question on the first page will ask you if you want one, and then it will take you to a second page where you can put in your name and email address. Please double check that you spell your email address and your name correctly. Otherwise, we can't assure that it will get to you, okay? So at this point, thank you guys for joining me. If you'd like to stick around for a couple minutes and ask questions, I'm here to assist until about maybe 10:05 or so before we need to start transitioning to the 10:30 session and also, checking in with Carter a little bit. So any questions that you have, feel free to unmute and ask them, and I'll be happy to address them.